Welcome back into a brand new video, and in today's video I just want to talk about Grow Garden and its success and what you can actually learn as a developer from that success, because I do believe that you can learn a lot. You know, it is record breaking. The amount of love that game has been getting is absolutely insane, never seen before, and because of that I do want to just kind of tell you what I've personally learned from that and what I'm personally going to apply in my future projects, and something that you can learn. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to copy anything or anything like that. That is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that you can learn a lot from certain little details and certain little things that Grow Garden is doing, and actually a lot of other games on Roblox are doing right now, that make them so popular. And it's really not what you think it is. You might want to stick around for the end of the video, because I'm going to reveal a huge thing that I've learned from all of this at the end of the video. So make sure to stick around till the end to get that secret. It's not the flashy animations or anything like that, because Grow Garden, when you look at it, you know, it really is a sim game done right, in a way that like it is not oversaturated. It is not like Pet Simulator or all of those other games. It is very like, it is not oversaturated. It is not, you know, just made for maximizing that short-term dopamine or anything like that, you know, because it really doesn't feel oversaturated with unnecessary animations or unnecessary pop-ups or anything like that. And I just kind of want to touch on what they're doing to actually make this work. You know, if there are no flashy animations like that, then what is making this game so popular? Now let's break it down. Grow Garden is a massive game that has gained over, you know, 20 million, and had 20 million concurrent players at one point, I'm pretty sure. So what is it exactly? What is exactly making this game so big? So first, let's start off by talking about that comparison that we mentioned before. There are a lot of sim games that have been developed in a way that it is oversaturated, unnecessary pop-ups and animations, absolute insanity. So when you actually join Grow Garden, you're going to immediately notice that there really isn't much going on, in the sense of that there's not a lot of flashy animations, oversaturated stuff. It feels like a breath of fresh air, and it really just is better. However, you're also going to notice that there's not a lot of, you know, Game Pass buttons, right? There's no button on the side that makes it so you can purchase something. Like, Game Passes in Grow Garden are not in front of your face. They are not very obvious. Game Passes in Grow Garden are not exactly, you know, in your face. They are not disturbing you. They're not doing anything like that. But it's still a very profitable game because it has certain things that other games really don't. For example, if you want to buy something in the shop and it's not in stock, you can always buy it with Robux. And also, something that comes to mind is you can always steal from other players, which costs Robux, and that type of stuff adds up over time, and it becomes very profitable. It becomes a very profitable business model for the developers. I just wanted to add, Grow Garden doesn't actually have any Game Passes. It just has developer products. I'm going to talk about it later on in the video. I just wanted to mention that, since I'm mentioning that for some reason here. I just kind of wanted to clarify that. However, the game is still very profitable because it has a lot of these small things, such as, you know, stealing other players' fruits, which cost like 30 Robux, and that type of stuff adds up, especially with dev products that you can buy. And if you don't know what a dev product is basically, it's something that you can purchase, but it's not a one-time purchase. It's something that you can, you know, buy over and over again. For example, money. You know, you're not gonna buy money like one time or whatever. You can purchase money in a game, for example, multiple times. But a Game Pass, like, I don't know, a speed coil, for example, you're only gonna be able to buy that once, right? So that's what the difference between a Game Pass and a dev product is. And dev products are really cool in scenarios like this, where you can steal other players' fruits, because that type of stuff adds up. You know, if you have been playing that game for a longer period of time and you're somebody who has Robux, you're most likely gonna spend way more money on those dev products than certain Game Passes, right? And Grow Garden doesn't even have a lot of Game Passes in the store. Like, there's not like a certain tool that you can purchase. It's mostly just dev products and stuff like that. Like, really, like, now that I think about it, I don't think there's a single Game Pass in all of Grow Garden. Literally, not a single Game Pass. Now let's talk about one of the most important things about Grow Garden, and one of the things that Grow Garden executes perfectly, in my opinion, or if not perfectly, at least near perfect, right? The retention that Grow Garden has is absolutely insane, right? And one of the main reasons behind this is their is something that they actually kind of invented, and that's grows offline. If you don't already know, if you plant something in Grow Garden, it's going to grow offline, right? And that's just one of those things that Grow Garden does to make sure that players come back. So let me tell you why that is extremely important. So the whole grows offline thing is extremely good because it makes it so the player knows that once they log on and once they come back, there's going to be something waiting for them, right? They don't have to be on for something to happen, right? So the players know that they're going to have something to do. They're going to sell their fruit or whatever they have to do, right? They're going to have something waiting for them in game. And that's why grows offline is very important to the actual game model, because it makes the player want to come back instead of making the player feel like they have to constantly work for something. Also, a very important thing when it comes to the retention of Grow Garden is the amount of things that they have invented. There's not only one thing that you can do. There are a lot of things that you can do in Grow Garden. You know, if you already have a lot of money in game, that doesn't mean that you completed the whole game, right? There's also getting a beautiful garden, doing this, doing that. There are a lot of things that you can do in that game. I think that a lot of these things just come down to Grow Garden inventing a lot of things that we have never seen before. At least I've never seen these things before. I've never seen them done before. For example, the whole not having game passes thing, right? That's one of the things, right? And also one of the most important things I think when it comes to the actual game model is the fact that the whole stocks thing, right? The whole is it in stock thing, right? Because a lot of games, when you have a lot of money, you can buy anything you want. But in Grow Garden, you can't buy a lot of things because you have to wait for them to be in stock. And this makes the player want to either buy it in Robux or just wait for it to be in stock, right? Which means that they have to log on constantly to actually see if the item that they want is in stock, right? Which gives yet another reason for somebody to log on. I also wanted to mention just how important the idea is. I think that when it comes to game development, there are people who spend literally hours upon hours developing a certain game that is not going to perform nearly as well as a game that maybe was developed in a few minutes, because the idea is the most important thing ever. There are a lot of developers out there that literally said, I could have made Grow Garden in 5 minutes, right? And it's like, yeah, maybe you could have, but the thing is you did not get that idea, right? And that's kind of what the idea is, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, like you might have thought of, like maybe you could have done that, but it's like you did not get that idea, you know? So that's kind of what it is. And I also wanted to quickly mention just how good it is when you are a big game on Roblox. It's kind of like a spiral where, like, if you're a big game, you have a lot of people playing it, so there are a lot of TikToks and other media that has something to do with Grow Garden, and that just promotes your game even more, right? When you create a Roblox game and it becomes big to the point where there are TikToks made about it, you know, it becomes very big because there's a conversation. People can bond over their love for Grow Garden. People can talk about it in schools and stuff. You know, it's a big thing. So, you know, one of the most important things is to have that community of people that love your game. And that's why, you know, if you want to promote your game, one of the most effective methods is to make certain TikToks about it, promote it on TikTok, you know, and just make a community of people that like your game, you know, and be original. That's very important. And now it's time to talk about the secret sauce that I've been saving up this whole video, and that is just kind of the name of the game. The name of the game and the simplicity of the actual game. Players in Roblox usually don't have a very big attention span, right? So if your game requires like a tutorial or it's very complicated, a lot of players are not actually going to play the game. Now obviously I'm not saying that you cannot make a successful, more complicated game. You absolutely can. But if you want your game to go viral, then it has to be something that is kind of simple, something that everybody can understand. It's very simple, but obviously this is kind of an option, right? But now the main thing that I wanted to talk about in this bonus tip is the name of the game, right? That is kind of the main thing that I wanted to talk about at the end of the video, because it's very it's something that I've noticed. For example, Grow Garden, right? The name in itself tells you what the game is all about, right? Grow a garden. There's a game called, you know, Steal the Brain Rot or whatever, right? And it tells you what the game is about. There's a game called Hide or Die, right? You hide or you die, right? Like that's self-explanatory, right? So when it comes to naming your game, you usually want your name to kind of describe the main thing that players are going to be doing, right? It doesn't have to be like a certain action, but just kind of like something that describes the whole game, right? For example, an older example of this would be something like Prison Life or Jailbreak. Like, these are all games that, like, it's self-explanatory just by the name what you're going to be doing, right? So yeah, that's kind of it for this video. I just kind of wanted to talk about a few things that you can get from, you know, Grow Garden success. And yeah, before the video ends, I just wanted to thank everybody for 100 subs in a week. You know, we have been absolutely exploding. So like, I just wanted to thank everybody for that. I just think that that's absolutely amazing, you know. And I know I sound kind of tired because I literally kind of am. You know, I've been editing this video, so, you know, but I just wanted to still thank everybody for everything recently. And so yeah, thank you all very much, and I appreciate it. Same time next week,